Hello friends, this is Raman with your weekly outlook for the week of August the 17th. We will start the analysis by looking at our Forex Factory first so we can have an idea of when the news is coming out. So for to start the week off, we have a fairly light news flow day. We don't have any red news in the London or the US session. We have Empire State Manufacturing Index, and we had retail sales out of Swiss franc in the morning in the UK session, and then we have Empire State Manufacturing Index, but no real red news to have a huge impact on the market. Going into the Asian session at 9:30 p.m., we have monetary policy meeting minutes for Australian dollars. And for Tuesday, likewise, we have just one piece of data for the pound. We have CPI year over year at 4:30 a.m. Eastern, and then the entire session kind of goes quiet in terms of news and picks up again at 8:30 a.m. at the beginning of the U.S. session with building permits for the U.S. We also have a GDP price index for the New Zealand during the day, and the evening session is relatively quiet as well. We have the PPI number for New Zealand dollar and then trade balance for Japanese yen, but no red news in the Asian session. Going into Wednesday, that's when the things get interesting. We have, again, the UK session is quiet on the news. Going into the US session, we have CPI month-over-month data coming out and the core CPI numbers coming out at 8:30 as well. And then at 2 p.m. Eastern, we have FOMC meeting minutes. And this is where the market will really be paying attention to, because now we have seen last week twice Japanese currency was devalued. That causes, that may have an impact on where the Fed goes with their interest rate hike in September. And the Chinese economy has been cooling off as well. So we may see Fed looking at the global, overall global situation and taking that into account while considering the interest rate hikes. So that's what the market is looking for the Fed to either come out with and take a stance on what they're thinking in terms of interest rate hikes, whether they are still gearing towards raising the interest rates or the new situation has changed something for them. So we'll be looking for the meeting minutes to see what the Fed has or is thinking about that. After that, we have a monetary policy statement for the Japanese yen. Going into Thursday, things pick up a little bit. We have a Bank of Japan press conference. We have retail sales data coming out of the pound at 4:30 a.m. Eastern. And then going into the U.S. session, we have wholesale sales number for the Canadian dollar. We have unemployment claims for the U.S. dollar at 8:30 a.m. And then we have Philly Fed Manufacturing Index at 10 a.m. After that, things go fairly quiet for the U.S. session. And going into the Asian session, we have out of China, we have flash manufacturing PMI numbers. Going into Friday here, we have, let's move on. Oh, here, sorry. For Friday here, we have French flash manufacturing PMI numbers out of the Eurozone at 3 a.m. Eastern. And then at 3:30 a.m., we have German flash manufacturing PMI numbers. Market will be looking to see how these numbers come out to gauge the economic situation in the Eurozone. And then into the U.S. session, we don't really have any U.S. data. Much of the U.S. data, we have Canadian core CPI numbers and core retail sales numbers at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. And then we have retail numbers month over month for Canadian dollar and flash manufacturing PMI for the U.S. However, there is no other red news coming out of the U.S. So, and keeping in mind that this is August, so market may just go sideways after that. So that's our Forex Factory. Now let's take a look at our commitment of traders data. For the euro here, we have seen that dealers have decreased their long positions, and asset managers have decrease the short positions. And as for leveraged money, they have also decreased their short positions. So this shows us that the sentiment towards, based on the COT, at least the sentiment towards the euro is to the long side. Let's take a look at the pound here. For the pound, we see the blue line that here you can see the dealer long positions have gone up and leverage money long positions have gone down, as well as the asset manager short positions have increased. This puts, in terms of the COT, this puts a bit of a short bias for the pound. Let's move on to the Canadian dollar here. Okay, so for dollar CAD, we have dealer long positions have increased. Actually, dealer long positions have, dealer long positions have increased. Asset manager long positions, short positions have decreased, and leverage money short positions, as you can see here at the bottom, the green line is leverage money short positions. They have increased in size as well. So this puts a bit of a short bias on the dollar CAD. Let's take a look at Australian dollar here. For Australian dollar, we see dealer long positions have decreased. If you look at this blue line here, for asset manager short positions, they have increased, and so have leverage money short positions. This is interesting because normally the dealers are the hedgers, so they are normally on the opposite side of this. However, here we see all of them, the dealer long positions have decreased, asset manager short positions have increased, and so have leveraged money short positions. They have increased as well, which is a bit confusing. So if you take a look at commercials here, so we see that commercial, which is in line with the dealers here, they have their long positions have gone down, but the disparity comes between the asset managers and your large speculators and small speculators. If you take a look here, the small speculators have actually decreased their short positions. They are long on the pound. However, the large speculators looks like they have actually increased their short positions here compared to the last time. So the bias on this, the small speculators is not what we are concerned about too much. So it's the large speculators that we would like to follow. So in terms of the COT sentiment here for the pound, I would say we are still looks like the large speculators are still more towards the short position. So they've slightly increased their short positions, which puts the bias slightly to the downside here for Australian dollar. Now let's take a look at New Zealand dollar. Okay, so New Zealand dollar here, we see dealer long positions have decreased, asset manager short positions have decreased slightly, and then we see leverage money short positions have actually decreased slightly as well. So in this case, the sentiment would be towards long New Zealand dollar. Now let's move on to our charts and see what we can gather from our technical analysis here. So looking at the Euro US dollar chart here, we saw last week, we saw Euro pushing up against the dollar. The devaluation of Chinese currency had an impact on that as well, and pushed the euro and everything against all the US dollar crosses up. So keeping that in mind, well, especially actually the euro and the pound. So keeping that in mind, so towards the end of the week, we saw euro go and test this 1200 level. It went just above the 1200 level, and then, however, it wasn't able to sustain it and got pushed off of that level, got rejected there, and now it has found this upper bound of around 1180 there, and since then it has held below that. Friday's close, we saw rejection of that 1180 level and a close below that level. However, it still did close above the 1100, so we'll be looking for it to come down now. In terms of the technical level, this 1040 level is very important. If it closes below that, puts more of a negative bias on the euro. So we'll be waiting to see how this daily candle closes today, and based on that, we'll have better information of where the euro will go. However, in terms of the broader levels, if we see the euro, hold above the 1100 level and push up higher here, if it closes above and pushes up higher, we are looking for it to make further gains and go towards this 113 1,200 level. However, it has to hold hold above this 1,200 level, which it has struggled with several times. We have seen it trading within the range, and it is still in that range. It pushed up last week, and now we are waiting to see what it does. The Friday close is definitely bearish, so today we would expect a move to the downside. And again, it will depend on how the candle closes today, whether this negative sentiment continues and the euro moves down, or if it's able to push off of this level and go back into the upward move there. Now let's take a look at the pound dollar here. Pound has been in this range for many days here, and last week we saw it pushing upwards, and today it went and tested that 56.90 level. However, it did get rejected. So again, it's still sitting up high there. So we'll have to see if it comes back down and starts moving towards the bottom of the range here. We saw it trying to break through the downside in the range, but it wasn't able to hold there, and then pushed back all the way up to test the top of the range. Now it has been sitting there. It has tried to break through this range to the upside several times, and so we really need to see whether it's able to sustain that, to actually break above and hold above. If it does hold above, we may see it come and do a back test of this level and make another move to the upside. In that case, we are looking at this 58,800 level for the price to go to. So that's what we'll be looking at today, at this week. And then above that, we have this high that the price may come and test, which is 59.27. That's very important level as well. So again, waiting for pound to break out of this range. Looks like it has tried to push through this. So it will depend on the daily close again today to see whether it is able to break through or it gets rejected at this level. Looks like it's moving down right now. However, that can change during the day. So moving on to let's take a look at New Zealand dollar here. As we can see on the New Zealand dollar, we have, again, it has been trading in this range here as well. It tried to break the range to the downside, but that failed. And now we have seen the last two closes. We have seen they are more biased towards the short side. However, we see this area, which is our 6,500 level, acting as a support, very strong support level. So that's the area that we'll be looking again for. Looks like it wants to break to the downside, but again, we'll be watching for it to actually make that break, and then it may come and do a back test of this level to move further down. To the downside, we have 6450 area. That will be our next target. If it doesn't, this bottom range holds, we would expect to trade the range again this week, and we will look for the price to move upwards towards the top of the range. And there we are looking at the 6650 level, and then 6750 level here up, which is the larger range. Taking a look at the Australian dollar here, again, Australian dollar has been trading in the range as well. Again, last week when Chinese devalued their currency, we saw Australian dollar break through the range, but it wasn't able to sustain that, and now we have seen it go back into the range. Looks like the first target will be the bottom of the range here. So 72.50 will be the first place. At this point, there's no clear direction. It's still range bound. So at the bottom of the range, we will look for long positions. We will look to see if the range holds. And in that case, we'll be looking for long positions. And at the top of the range here, we'll be looking for short positions. So 74.30-ish area for a potential short, and then 72.50 for a potential long. So this is the range that we'll be playing. If it does break below that range, we have 71.50 as the next area that the price will go test, and to the upside we have this 7,500 area for the long if it does break out of the range to the long side, and further than that, there's 75. airy area as well. For this is where we could look for a potential short. This is a very nice support and resistance area and could give us a nice short opportunity. However, we do need to see it break out of this range first. Okay, Canadian dollar CAD here. Dollar CAD, we have seen a large move to the upside. Then last week we saw it pulling off of this level, and now this week this pair looks more bullish. We saw a nice close on the daily chart here on Thursday, and Friday's close was very bullish as well. As you can see, the price rejected and held up to the towards the high here, and looks like we will see the test of this level, this 3,200 level again for the dollar CAD, and we'd be looking to see if it's able to break this level. Once the price breaks this level, we may look for a back test of this for a potential move to the upside. And then for targets, we are looking for 132.50 or 33.20 areas for the targets on this. But first, it will have to contend with this high. And once it does break through, we'll look for a move higher in the dollar CAD. So that's all I have for the analysis for this week. I will see you next week again.